This week, the Steelers travel to the Link in Philly to take on the Eagles in a highly anticipated civil war of teams from the state of Pennsylvania. Welcome into the Steelers Talk Week 15 preview. I'm your host, Jack Sperry, and today we're going to be breaking down injuries, team trends, what the Eagles like to do schematically, keys to victory, how you stop Jalen Hurts, and then finally I'll give you guys my official score prediction for this Week 15 matchup. But before we get into the content today, we are going live for our watch party at not 4:30 actually, it's 3:30 p.m. Eastern time on Sunday, so sorry for the mistake there, but 4:30 p.m. Eastern time, we're going to be going live. We got an hour-long tailgate, getting you guys ready for this game, live play-by-play and instant reaction, and then also we got extensive post-game coverage as well, so make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you guys, if you need a little bit more motivation to click that subscribe button, Chase Sr., the host of our Eagles channel, has challenged me to a sub-battle this week, and he's a Pennsylvania native, and this is what he had to say about the Steelers and this week's matchup.
So as somebody who grew up in Pennsylvania, the right part of the state, outside of Philadelphia, went to Temple University, I do have great respect for the city of Pittsburgh. I enjoy going there, and I think it's one of the more underrated cities in all of America. And the Pittsburgh Steelers have a proud history as an organization. But this is a Pennsylvania state rivalry that I'm jacked up for. And I don't think the Steelers are ready. The Philadelphia Eagles took care of business against the Cleveland Browns. They handled the Cincinnati Bengals. They went on the road and they punched the Ravens in the chin. Now it's time to complete the quest of an AFC North sweep. I know that Steelers defense is good. They're not ready for Saquon Barkley and the number one rushing offense in the National Football League. Birds win. Suck it, Steel City. E-A-G-L-E-S, Eagles!
As you can see, Senior's feeling pretty good about his Eagles heading into the week. So if you want to help us beat the Eagles Now crew in a sub-battle this week, new viewers, we're counting on you guys. It's only new subscribers, so if you haven't clicked that subscribe button yet, represent Steelers Nation and help us beat the Eagles this week. All right, now let's get into the content here, where we got the 10-3 Steelers going into the Link in Philly to take on the 11-2 Eagles, who have won 9 straight games heading into this matchup here. And, this is a team that is very, very difficult to beat. You got to play a complete game of football. You got to outplay them in the fourth quarter, which is very, very difficult to do with the run game that they have. And then you also take into account here the injuries that the Steelers are going to be dealing with this week. George Pickens is doubtful with a hamstring injury. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Pickens misses multiple games with that grade 2 hamstring minor tear in his hamstring. Then Larry Ogunjobi is going to be questionable with that groin injury he suffered against the Browns. Dante Jackson hurt his back in that game against the Browns as well. He'll be questionable. Then Montravius Adams has been working his way back, but he's still going to be questionable coming back from that knee injury. As for the Eagles, they got a trio of players on the IR that won't be available in this game. Their tight end, Dallas Goedert, will not be available. That's a pretty big one for them. He's a good player for them. Brandon Graham has really been their number one edge rusher this year, despite how old he is, but he's out for the season with the tricep injury. And then you got Bryce Huff, another one of their starting edge rushers, who's on IR right now with a wrist. All 3 of these guys will not be available for this Sunday's game. Take a look at the results so far for Philly, and both of their losses this season came in the first 4 weeks. They lost in kind of miraculous fashion to the Falcons at home in week 2 in Kirk Cousins. And then you lost to the Buccaneers on the road in convincing fashion. But other than that, they have been a very solid football team that consistently delivers results in the fourth quarter. And over the last 5 games here, they are undefeated. And in fact, in their last 9 games, they are undefeated. They nearly actually lost to the Carolina Panthers in Week 14, but they've had some pretty impressive wins, man. They completely destroyed the Commanders, really, in Week 11. They also did a really good job against the Baltimore Ravens as well. So this is a tough, physical football team where it's going to take a full team effort to come away with a W in this football game. You take a look at what the Eagles like to do schematically. They run a modern pro spread offense led by Kellen Moore, their offensive play caller. And then Vic Fangio himself, of course, runs his Fangio quarters-based defense here in Philly, and it's really starting to hit its stride in the second half of the season, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. First up, though, let's talk about the offense here. The key pieces this week are going to be Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, their number one running back, and then their awesome wide receiver duo and A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. All right, take a look at the team trends here. The Eagles offense is a top 10 offense in the league. Maybe not top 5, but they're certainly top 10, and they're definitely maybe even top 1 when you're talking about second half stats, and especially when you're talking about fourth quarter stats. This is an offense that gets better and better as the game goes on. Now, the passing offense hasn't been quite as good lately. Jalen Hurts has had some struggles throwing the football, but I'm really excited for this matchup, guys, because the Steelers' defense is freaking unbelievable, man. 3 turnovers in each of their last 4 games. They're first in the National Football League in that category right now. Really, really good on third downs as well this season. And then the yards per play and overall scoring defense are also ranked very highly. So I'm very excited for this matchup, and it's all going to come down to whether or not the Steelers can stop the run. The points per game trends, the Eagles have scored 26.3 points per game this year, whereas the Steelers defense has allowed 18.3, which would predict the Eagles score 24 points here in Week 15 at home against the Steelers defense. Then you look at the defensive side of the ball for Philly, and man, they got a lot of really good young players on this defense. Zach Bond, their inside linebackers, playing great football, arguably an all-pro this year. Jalen Carter, who was a high draft pick, kind of a controversial pick, but he was certainly somebody that was highly touted coming out of Georgia. He's turning into a superstar in the middle of their defense, and then their 2 young corners, Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. You guys know, if you watched our draft coverage here on Steelers Talk, how high I was on both of these gentlemen. They are phenomenal football players. They still have Darius Slay on the other side of Quinyon Mitchell on the outside, who is excellent in this scheme as well. And then Josh Sweat is their biggest threat on the edge. You take a look at what the Steelers have done offensively since Russell Wilson has taken over. They're not great in the red zone, but they do move the football and they do score points. All right, they're 5th in scoring offense. Their defense and their special teams certainly give them opportunities because of the turnovers they generate and the touchdowns they kind of produce there. But the Steelers offense is absolutely getting the job done right now. But at the end of the day here, the Eagles defense is really, really good. They're a top 5 defense right now, and they've been getting better and better as the season has gone on. They're 1st in yards per play allowed. They're 4th in third down defense. They're 6th in the red zone. The one thing they don't do at a super high clip is turn the ball over, so I don't expect them to turn it over a bunch in this game, but it's definitely going to be tough to move the football on the Birds. So the points per game trends here, the Steelers are averaging 28.4 points per game, and then the Eagles are giving up 18 points per game. So that's going to predict that the Steelers score about 23 points in this game. So if you believe the trends, they'll say that the Eagles win this one extremely closely. It's like a razor-thin margin, but the trends would predict a 24-23 win for the Eagles at home. And throughout the rest of today's preview, guys, I got my keys to victory to help the Steelers overcome maybe that trend differential right there. I got 5 keys to victory for you guys today. Also got my Jalen Hurts scouting report. I'm going to tell you exactly how the Steelers can stop him and kind of exploit his weaknesses. And then I got my official Week 15 score prediction at the end of today's show, so make sure you don't go anywhere. But before we get into the rest of today's preview, let's have a word from our sponsor here at Game Time, which is the fastest and easiest way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater in your area. And guys, we all know that experiencing a sporting event, especially a football game live, is unlike anything you can get from watching the game on your couch. Game Time Picks is a brand new feature from our friends at Game Time, which filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. It's a huge time saver, guys, and it saves you a lot of money. All you have to do is click one button, and Game Time automatically shows you the best tickets and the best deals that they have on their platform for the event you want to go see. And it's one of the reasons why I love Game Time, man, and some other reasons why I love this app and why it's the only ticketing app I have on my phone to get the lowest price guarantee on any ticket to any event. All-in pricing so you don't get slapped with a crazy fee at checkout, and then flash deals so you can get even cheaper tickets the closer you wait to game time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time today. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS. It's one word, all caps, CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. So starting with my keys to victory here, let's talk about Jalen Hurts. And, the key for the Steelers should be to keep him in the bucket. All right, and what that means is you don't want him to escape the pocket and run around and make plays with his arm and his legs because he can do both. He's a great playmaker, which is probably the biggest strength of his game. He likes to leave pockets early because he understands that the biggest strength to his game is keeping his eyes downfield, throwing on the run, and then also he's very thick, all right, and he's able to really run the football and get tough yardage, and he's such a pest to play against, especially if you don't keep him in the pocket. He's also super accurate with the football, and he's got some really good touch on his deep ball. So if you allow A.J. Brown to get open one-on-one down the sideline, he's going to throw a beautiful touch ball to him, just like Russell Wilson does with guys like George Pickens for the Steelers. Very similar skill set there with Jalen Hurts, but the cons with him is mental processing. He doesn't like to go past his first read. He usually likes to go one read to play make, and then also his pocket presence isn't very good either. It's among the worst in the National Football League, where he will leave those clean pockets. And the way that you beat Jalen Hurts is you take away that first read. So he's going to have a read there in the pocket. He's going to get the football. He's going to make his first read. And if you take that away, he's going to try to leave the pocket. Now, I think that the way that the Steelers can prevent him from escaping the pocket is have a similar kind of game plan to what they do with Lamar Jackson, which is they like to send 5-man rushes. They call them dog blitzes, all right? It's when they have all 5 of their kind of line of scrimmage players. They're 3 down linemen, and then there are 2 outside linebackers. They just send all of them. And what that allows the Steelers defense to do is cut off any available rushing lanes for the quarterback. It's one of the reasons why Lamar Jackson isn't as effective as a rusher or as a passer for that matter when he plays the Steelers defense. It's why Jaden Daniels didn't have a good day when he played the Steelers defense. And if I were Mike Tomlin, if I were Terrell Austin, I would utilize these 5-man dog blitzes to limit what Jalen Hurts can do as a playmaker in terms of getting out of the pocket with both his legs and his arm. You look at another thing that I think the Steelers need to do, and this is more about the run game, is you can't run out of gas. What the Eagles love to do is they like to pound the football the entire football game. They want to tire you out, and then they want Saquon Barkley's explosiveness and stamina to shine through in the fourth quarter. And honestly, it's kind of the brand of football that the Steelers want to play. Now, the Steelers don't have as effective of a run game as the Eagles do, but the Steelers defense is actually doing a pretty good, decent job against the run this year. They're 6th in the NFL and yards per carry allowed, but Saquon Barkley gets better and better as the game goes on, man. He's in supreme physical shape. He never gets tired, and his level of explosiveness in the first quarter is the same as it is in the fourth quarter. So the way that you can kind of combat getting tired and getting gassed by the fourth quarter is twofold for the Steelers. Number one, you got to have a good rotation of players on your front 7. So I'm talking about defensive linemen, outside linebackers, and inside linebackers. You need to keep these guys fresh. You got to get Nick Herbig. You got to get Preston Smith in there for some reps and give TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith a rest at times so that those guys are good to go for the fourth quarter. You need to get Cam Hayward out of there at times. And, you got to rotate some guys. The Larry Ogunjobi injury, honestly, if he can't play this week, that could be huge because the rotation you could have on the defensive line isn't as stout. And then at inside backer, you also need to have a rotation of guys like Landon Roberts, Peyton Wilson, of course, Patrick Queen. You got to keep those guys in a rotation. You got to keep them fresh so that when the fourth quarter comes around, Saquon Barkley isn't just running right down their throats. Okay, now we get to another key to victory here, which is to shorten the game. And this is another way you can prevent the Steelers defense from getting gassed by the fourth quarter. If you run the football, if you are methodical on offense in this football game, you're going to limit the amount of times and the amount of time the Eagles have the ball in this football game. And you really need to run the ball effectively. And obviously that's going to kill clock. You got to stay away from 3rd and longs and pass-heavy situations. And then you got to do a good job converting on 3rd downs. And this has honestly not been a strength of the Steelers this year, where especially on 3rd and short, it seems like they are just never converting on those opportunities. That's got to change in this football game if they want to shorten the game and they want to keep their defense fresh throughout and really play a complete game of 4-quarter football. Then we get to another key to victory on offense here, which is to keep them honest in terms of the deep passing game. The Eagles are going to want to do what the Browns did this past week and play up in your face, take away short screens, take away the short passing game, and take away the run. All right, they're not going to be necessarily afraid of Mike Williams to start. They're not going to be afraid of Calvin Austin III. to start. But if you can hit a couple deep shots to some of these secondary receivers with George Pickens out of the lineup, it's going to open up the run game. It's going to open up the screen game, and it's going to allow you to do more things. So at some point, Arthur Smith and Russell Wilson need to scheme up some play action deep shots to guys like Mike Williams, Calvin Austin III, and others to keep this defense honest and keep them back so that you can really prioritize the run game throughout all 4 quarters. Then the final thing here is that this is now back to defense. I think the defense needs to force a major turnover in this game, or it could be special teams as well, whether that's a block punt, whether that's a punt returned for a touchdown, whether that's a pick six, whether that's a huge strip sack fumble, whatever the case may be. This is a defense that has really come up big in the biggest moments, providing these turnovers. And, with George Pickens not in the lineup today, or this week, I should say, I think the defense is going to have to really tip the scales here in favor of Pittsburgh. And now the good news of that is that the Steelers defense has provided these plays. That they've now had 4 straight games with 3 turnovers. All right, that's 12 turnovers in the last month. That is unprecedented, man. That might be an NFL record. I don't know. I might have to check the history books on that. But this Steelers defense and special teams units have done a really, really good job taking the football away. However, I do think that the Eagles have most of the advantages, especially with George Pickens out in this one. Now, could the Steelers win this game? Absolutely. But I think that the path is a lot more narrow without George Pickens on the field. I think this game would be a lot closer if GP was on the field, but because we're not expecting that, I think the Eagles get it going in the second half, and they end up winning this game 28-13, and the Steelers will go to 11-4 on the season. So now it's your turn. Let me know down there in the comments section. Predict the score of Steelers versus Eagles down there in the comments section. Is this the year the Steelers finally win in Philly? It's been 10 straight times they've lost there. Let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section. That'll be it for this week's preview, guys. Make sure you click that subscribe button if you haven't already. We do these in-depth previews for every single Steelers game, as well as give you guys free and informative Steelers content here on our YouTube channel every single day. So make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already. And until next time, here we go, Steelers.